I want to start with a number that really shocked me when I was doing the research for this video. 26.25. That's the percentage of job seekers that couldn't be matched to a single job. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and throughout my career, I've worked in education, leadership, operations, and workforce readiness. And one thing I have noticed across every organization, across every sector, is the same thing. Why are there smart, capable people that are struggling at work? Today, I want to talk to you about workforce readiness, what it actually means, and why so many organizations are struggling with it, and what you as a leader can do to close the gap. Let's talk about what employers are experiencing right now. People are getting hired, even though things are hard. They're earning degrees, they're completing training programs, they're checking all the traditional boxes. But yet so many organizations are finding that the new employees are struggling within the first couple of months. Not because they can't do the technical aspects of the job, because they're struggling with what I call the human side of the work. They're having difficulty receiving feedback. They take constructive criticism personally. They avoid difficult conversations. They struggle to manage conflict professionally. They don't always know how to advocate for themselves without becoming defensive. And here is what's interesting. Some of these individuals were top performers in schools. Many of them graduated with honors, have master's degrees, have really impressive resumes, and they're still struggling in the workplace. And I think I know why. I think it's because we spend decades measuring what people know and a lot less time developing people how to work with each other. And I've been guilty of it also as a school principal. Not because they weren't available, the jobs are there. The people were just not showing readiness. And when we asked recruiters and job boards and employers what was missing, it wasn't advanced math, it wasn't the degree, and it wasn't the technical college. It was things like showing up on time to the video, accepting the feedback from the interview in a positive way, not dressing professionally, not being able to answer a question completely. In other words, the gap isn't knowledge, the gap is readiness. And whether you're leading a business, managing a team, leading a school, hiring employees, or preparing the next generation of workers, this problem, it's gonna affect us all, and it is affecting us all. Now let's define workforce readiness because it's often misunderstood. Workforce readiness isn't just technical skills. It's not simply writing a resume, and it's not even interview preparation, even though you need that to get the job. It's not necessarily just learning a new software, but those things only matter for a bigger part of the picture. Real force work readiness is about behaviors. The behaviors that determine whether someone can contribute, collaborate, adapt, and grow in a professional environment. Questions like, can this person receive feedback and improve to use it? If you're in sales, you have to be able to receive feedback. Can you work effectively with people who think differently than you, that look differently than you? Can you navigate disagreement without damaging a relationship? Can you communicate under pressure? Can you take responsibility when things don't go right or they don't go as planned? Can you remain professional when there's a difficult situation or someone pushes your buttons? And these aren't soft skills. Honestly, they're skills that, well, we've been doing a disservice by calling them soft. There's nothing soft about being able to appropriately handle conflict. There is nothing soft about being able to be accountable for what you do. There is nothing soft about emotional regulation under pressure. In many cases, these are the hardest skills to develop, and most of them are essential for long-term success. Now, as a former principal, I have to ask, so why haven't we fixed this yet, right? Not because organizations don't care, and neither because schools don't care. It's because most educators are focused on preparing students for the future. which is really thinking about just content knowledge. Most employers are not yet investing in their employees. We spend a lot of time teaching knowledge, on the job training, and we spend less time teaching behaviors. And when behaviors become a problem, we tend to address them rather reactively than proactively. There's also a disconnect between learning environments and workplace environments. We teach people how to complete assignments. We don't always teach them how to navigate a relationship. We teach performance and spreadsheets. We don't always teach kindness and professionalism. And perhaps most importantly, we fail to connect those dots. We don't explicitly tell people that the way they respond to feedback today is how they're going to respond to a manager tomorrow. How your child receives feedback at home is how they're going to respond at work. And major conflict is always not just clients and coworkers. It could also be your boss. It could be at home. It could be anywhere. But you have to be able to make that connection. You have to be able to take modeling and information and transfer it to a new setting. But the good news is that the problem, we can totally solve it. And it doesn't require a total overhaul of the whole system. It just requires being intentional. And a lot of organizations don't get this right because they leave it to chance. They don't teach, they don't model, and they don't reinforce appropriately. Sometimes they create opportunities for people to receive feedback when it really counts with the numbers, such as like in sales or in customer service. Workforce readiness is not developed in one season, right? It has to be part of your company culture. It has to be part of expectations. It has to be practice. And honestly, it can't be another initiative. You need to have a clear lens for developing the behaviors that drive the success. And once you start looking through that lens, you'll begin to see opportunities everywhere. In my next video, I'm going to break down the specific behaviors that consistently show up in high-performing teams so you can take a look at and see what are we missing. We'll talk about those behaviors, why they matter, and how leaders can intentionally develop them. If this conversation resonates with you, subscribe and share it with another leader, manager, HR, educator, professional, business owner. Because workforce readiness isn't just an education issue, it's a leadership issue, it's an organizational issue, and ultimately, it's a human issue.